Chapter 8. Do you want to hear the story of the singing group in Couilleron? Couilleron is a little village just along the Loire here in Nantes. I had a permanent ad running on a Nantes website seeking people to work with, actors or other groups. An email popped into my inbox from the director of a singing group in the nearby village of Indre, pronounced And, on the banks of the Loire, a few clicks west of Nantes. The singing club's spokesman was looking for a director for their biannual singing show due in November 2023. I drove along one Thursday evening and sat and watched from a discreet distance as about 30 to 35 ordinary, amateur, mostly retired singers collected in a sports hall, grouped themselves off into male, female, soprano, alto and baritone groups, and then sang their way through a repertoire of popular songs accompanied by a lady on an electric piano. My motivation was partly to do with the challenge, as I'd not worked with singers before, and though my knowledge of the subject was limited, I stuck with it for 2 more visits over the following fortnight, and quietly watched and, of course, listened. It was only by listening did I realise that some of them actually could sing, but most couldn't. They lent me some DVDs of their past filmed shows, and when I first saw them, they were everything I'd have avoided at all costs anywhere else. The costumes were awful. Clown costumes of pure white nylon, or Egyptian, or Red Indian and cowboy costumes. There was never one moment when the best solo singers stepped forward to portray the true beauty of a good singing voice. Everyone was thrown in together at the same time. Each video went on for about 3 long, boring hours with an interval, and as is usual with almost all live theatre in France, in the amateur world anyway, consists of very boring introductions and very boring speeches at the end. The audience consisted of friends or relatives, and they played 2 public shows in the local community hall after 10 months rehearsal. I kept thinking if I could bring this off, then I could build bridges and perhaps persuade them to not only come and see one of my shows that I was directing when we played in May and June of that year, but also recruit new amateur actors to my own troupe for the next year. For me to believe in a project, I had to have an affinity, a feeling for it. I certainly didn't believe in the videos that I saw. They were everything that was wrong with amateur productions. I kicked the idea around in my imagination for a few days and came up with something I could believe in, and then about a week later met the musical director in a nearby cafe. My suggestion was that we pick out the best singers and let them go solo, and use the other singers to support them. The theme would be the Beatles. We could select a dozen of their most popular hits, break down the lyrics to English so they could be sung correctly. I'm an English teacher and I've trained as an actor, so I know how to do that. We could then build a set and costumes around the swinging 60s. I'd shorten the show to 1.5 hours. I thought it was a good idea. She didn't agree. She sat there unable to grasp any other concept outside of what she already knew. She didn't need a director. She needed a subservient choreographer. So I sighed, thanked her for her time and for thinking of me, but at that point simply said, "Okay, well, I'm out.